This is going to be very amateur, but I've decided to start up a vlog. If you took a listen to uh, my gaming experience 2025, I mentioned this game, Nyasna. I made a few private vlogs as a test and out of curiosity to see how I'd like doing this. And overall, I do. Very much so. So I was thinking, what would be a good way to do public vlogs? Some of the ones I tested this idea with are quite personal. So I decided once a month, end of the month, do general a general wrap up of the year for the last one in December. For the last one, that'll be in December for that year. To, in general, just talk about stuff. Nothing too personal. And when I do talk about anything personal, I'm not going to go into details. Too many details. First off, the channel. I'm going to get a few things out of the way real quick. What inspired me to even start doing this was Ross Scott. And the early days of Ross's Game Dungeon, and I mean the early days when his first video was fairly recent, the one covering Tyrion 2000. I actually got inspired by that, thinking, shit, I don't want to, like, I never thought I want to do it for money. I never thought I want to be famous. I thought, shit, I want to do that. I want to show off random cool game stuff to the wider world, stuff that I think is neat. I started with older stuff my 2009 pre-build PC could manage. Really got into Neverwinter Nights. Did System Shock 2. Loved that. Unfortunately, I lost a lot of footage. Specifically, I decided to go back and see if I even had any of my old stuff. And it turned out I didn't. It turned out that whatever I had was what was on my YouTube channel. So I had to go through the process of downloading my own videos from my YouTube channel for System Shock, Neverwinter Nights, all that old stuff. And in order to catalog and preserve it on archive.org, where I preserve a lot of things, and my own personal offline collection. I believe, though, starting with early on in the second big, large expansion to Neverwinter Nights, Hordes of the Underdark, I slowed down and eventually stopped rendering my videos. I fell off of it. And before I could think to get back on it, I thought, I was in an early stage of having my offline collection, thought, I might never upload these, I'll delete them for space. I cannot find them. I have an extensive offline collection of several hard drives. I've looked through all of them. I believe it's permanently lost. And I didn't just go through Hordes of the Underdark. I went through what I remember being the Sands of Time fan-made trilogy. It had 3 big parts. It was a huge trilogy. An adventure, a huge adventure split into a trilogy. I did the whole thing recorded. I am so sad that it's all gone. It is what it is, though. There was other stuff I wanted to cover. I wanted to cover more niche stuff. A friend back in the day tried me getting into Gothic, and it never really stuck. I played a bit of it, and I maybe I would stick more with it now, but who knows? Um, there's some old Doom stuff on this channel. I had this idea at one point. I'm just gonna come out and say it. So there was a time period a bit over a decade ago where I spent a whole year without internet. I could get internet through other means. I managed to use our next door neighbor's unprotected Wi-Fi until they caught on and passworded it. By a certain point, I was going to the local McDonald's with a couple bucks in my pocket back when the dollar sandwich was actually a dollar sandwich. I would get one or two sandwiches, infinite free refills on the Dr. Pepper, and I would sit there on a laptop for a few hours of my spare time before leaving. If I had spare time, you could find me at McDonald's on a laptop. This was actually when I got into the Doom World archives. I knew it existed. I knew the Doom community existed. I have a personal opinion on online communities, and I don't want to talk about it right now. But I usually don't get involved with too many of them. I usually keep my circle very small, and I'm happy that way. But I knew the Doom World archives existed. I just never really bothered to visit it. So I figured, what the hey? Let's see what it's about. I found a lot of cool and interesting looking stuff. Ended up building a multiple gigabyte sized collection of Doom wads. 90 of wads of like wads, custom made levels and shit for Doom 1, Doom 2, even a few of the other things, a few of the other old games. But 90% of it was Doom 2. And I thought to myself, well, I want to go through these and maybe even record myself going through these for the channel. I started with a simple one, do it. Literally one about committing suicide. My thought process was it's a bit outrageous, but it's literally a 2-minute mod, if that. If I want to look around and actually see what's all in the room before I blow my own head off. I believe I did Boot Hill, which was a Doom 1 mod that turned into a Western a shootout in Western Down. That was kind of cool. But I hard fell off of it. I just didn't really. I just couldn't keep up with it because the idea I had in mind was I would do one a day, no matter what the size was, how big or small. And yeah, I really quickly realized that wasn't something I would be happy actually sticking with. I would eventually find it too tiring. Um, and then there are three now actually, I've attempted to do a mod that I really, really love and that I'm really fond of. Narodnaya Solyanka Cumulative Pack 2, occasionally abbreviated to CP2 or OP2, particularly by English speakers. And it is a mess of a gumbo game at its finest, full of all kinds of dumb bullshit. But I loved it, even enough to put up with with what I consider its flaws. However, I pretty much played through 99% all the way up to the end of 2.09. Then I had the idea to play it again on recording, but then the team actually released 2.1, something I didn't think would happen. So I stopped my Let's Play of 2.09. I had already beaten the game. I had already dedicated literally a few hundred hours to it off of record on my own, let alone on recording. So I figured, what the hell? And I was going to do 2.1. I was really far into it. But I didn't start recording at the beginning. I started recording pretty late in the game and thought, what the hell, we'll go from there. In the end, I didn't like that either, and 2.2 had released, so I said, fuck it. Around when I built my still relatively new computer, about a couple of years ago, I decided, fuck it, 2.2. And this year, I actually downloaded it and started playing it. and started doing record videos for it. I fell off that a bit. I do still want to do it. I'm actually having a lot of fun with it. And I found a really great way to do it by... I found a really great way to do it by streaming it to a server full of Stalker enthusiasts, mod community members, etc. that would gladly watch me play it. The audience that I feel it's most intended for. While deafened in Discord, so I can record myself playing it for my channel. I wanted to... It's a lot nicer and cleaner of an idea than the original concept of just let everyone pile in and just go hog wild, balls out, off the cuff. And that's not, after doing it once, I immediately thought that sounds like a terrible fucking idea. Nothing particularly bad happened. I just realized, no, I don't want to do it that way. But I am going to pick back up. I just actually checked my YouTube studio out of curiosity because I got a thing. I'm pretty sure there's a couple of videos I haven't uploaded. Yes. Up to part 11 is uploaded on the channel as of this recording. As of me doing this recording. I still need to upload part 12, which is finished. Part 13, which is finished. And render part 14. I have an idea of how I'm going to try to render part 14. And then in the new year, moving forward, I will try to do this more often. I don't think I'll try to do make it a once a day thing. That would even once a day for a few hours would be too much. I think I'm going to make it a 2 or 3 days a week maximum thing. The good news is, well, the good and the bad news is I don't actually have to worry about the game ever updating, this mod ever being updated again, to my knowledge, because sadly the entire dev team broke up in the midst of the Ukraine-Russia bullshit going on. Because some members of the dev team were on one side, some were on the other, and they couldn't really maintain continuing to work on the mod as a team because of the conflict, is my loose understanding of it. So, at the very least, I can take comfort knowing I can take my time with this. Okay. Made a list just off the top. Now, so Stalker and Chill is continuing. Now, I don't know if I uploaded it. I actually don't remember if I uploaded it. But the last video I recorded for 2.1 was me starting one of the new storylines that was included post 2.09 and talking about... I just realized that rat has fucking sneakers. I've never noticed that when going through when exploring the world of this little game. That is the most adorable fucking thing. Okay, the last video I recorded for 2.1 is, I believe I said something along the lines of it was on the old computer that was on its way out anyway. It was an all-in-one computer I nicknamed Unit Owie. Just take the O and the I and switch them around. I tend to give my computers pet names. Sorry if I'm weird for that. But I mentioned I was building a new computer, and I mentioned that moving forward, what I would do moving forward. One of the things I was trying to record was Amnesia the Bunker. Now, if you watched my Lost in Vivo playthrough, I believe I mentioned it there. But I tried to... I said I was going to do that because I am very fond of settings in dark underground bunkers. I think they're cool. This wasn't particularly interesting. I've never played The Dark Descent. I've heard people praise The Dark Descent. I unfortunately did play a little bit of Machine for Pigs, and it was hot ass as a horror game. But Amnesia the Bunker was at least trying, but it still wasn't doing it for me. I got to the point where I was looking at it really logically, and if I was just too low on resources to actually make the monster fuck off for a bit, I would very personally just charge it while screaming into my mic to come at me, and letting it kill me so I could just go back to my previous saved point and try again, since the monster kind of worked randomly on when and where it would come out. It wasn't very it just stopped feeling interesting to me, and I told myself I would come back to it, and eventually I said, I'm not going to come back to this. And I deleted it. And that's one thing I'm actually not sorry about deleting. I did not. I thought I would like it more than I did. I never actually beat the game. I'm probably not going to go back to it. Unless I don't have a lot more interesting things on my plate. And I don't think that's ever going to happen. Speaking of, there is a game I never finished that I recorded for this channel, but I intend to. I'm going to have to do it in an unorthodox way, though. Hypnospace Outlaw. Now, the thing about this, and I actually don't remember the name of the game, but I did a full Let's Play of an FPS game. It might have been made in Build Engine. Did a full Let's Play of that because it looked outrageous. I mean, literally, you start the game having beat a man to death in a road stop bar bathroom. You go out, you kill the rest of the people in the bar. You go out into the parking lot and kill a cop, and then when you get close to the city, this big thing pops up saying your best friend, and it's a fucking ACAB dude. Not ACAB, I'm sorry, Antifa. It's an Antifa dude. And it's literally a group of Antifa people fighting some other people. And it wasn't trying to be like tongue-in-cheek. It was like, this is your best friend. And the only reason the Antifa people aren't trying to kill you here is because your best friend is there to keep them from doing so. I think they actually do try to kill you in later levels. It was a weird fucking game. And I wanted to show it off. And there were other things I wanted to show off. The whole idea I had was to go back to my roots. What really got me going on all of this entire thing in the first place was Ross's Game Dungeon showing off weird but interesting stuff like Tyrion 2000. Never did actually play more than a bit of that game, and I want to. Because it struck me as interesting. An FPS game that's pretty lenient to you. I'm sorry, a shmup, I meant to say. A shmup that's pretty lenient to you. But, it has, like, branching paths, and you can literally find little collectibles in each level that give you more world lore. It struck me as one of those weird games that does extra shit that you don't see games of the genre itself doing normally, but that enhances the game in its own cool way. So it got me thinking, like I said, the stuff I find cool, the stuff I think is interesting. I think weird shit's interesting. I have multiple other ideas for stuff I do want to cover going through. Cruelty Squad, Broken Reality. But I want to finish Hypnospace Outlaw. To do that, I would actually have to watch my videos that I've done on it, that I did on it like 2, 3, 4 years ago, to get myself up to speed on what I'm even doing, because I actually kept my saves. I know exactly where they are. I'm not exaggerating when I say this. I'm going to get back to it, and I'm going to finish that. And I want to continue and do more weird games. But stuff like Amnesia the Bunker, that's not going to happen. It's got to be a game that actually interests me. Let's see. Runa mod Rabbit Hole. Started that earlier this year. I'd actually played the Citywide Revolt Library of Runa mod before this, but I got really bored of it, of some of the fights, and didn't want to try puzzling them out too much, and would start using cheese methods. I didn't really care about playing the way the mod wanted me to play sometimes, and ultimately I didn't play around too much with a lot of what the mod had to offer. I did want to record a proper playthrough of it, though, and I had extra incentive. A mod came out for the Japanese audio version. Now, if I remember correctly, Library of Ruina received a Japanese voiced, received Japanese voice acting, but it was only released for the Switch version, I believe. I might be wrong. So, somebody intrepid enough decided, I'll do it myself. And literally just took that and modded it into the PC version. Put it up on the Steam Workshop. So I figured, hey, I have an incentive. Not only can I go through Citywide Revolt, I can go through the vanilla game again, but experience the actual Japanese voice acting. I had a lot of fun with it. I actually went through Citywide Revolt. After I was done with that, I started going through miscellaneous stuff and putting that into videos that I called catch-all bins. After a couple of those, I saw another mod that interested me. Ghoul's Scuffed New Game Plus. The idea being a rework of all of the vanilla receptions to make them New Game Plus worthy. To make it so you have a full, you've beaten the game, you have everything. Now here's some here's some shit that is the difficulty of which is designed to be end or post game. I actually had a lot of fun with this one. I only used my own modded content in 2 cases. The very first reception, where I didn't have anything from Ghoul's mod starting out, and the second to last reception of that version, which I believe is still the version it is at now, because there was one particular thing that I unfortunately didn't plan around well enough, and I ended up having to bring in another squad that included dudes with pages from other mods. But outside of those 2 instances, and the first one was literally just to actually get stuff from the mod, I basically started planning my entire all my team, my main team that I used for the mod, with the mod's content in mind. Starting with the very first with the key and combat pages, the very first reception in Ghoul's New Game Plus mod, and continuing to build upon my team from there with every reception I complete. I basically did the majority of Ghoul's mod with the content of Ghoul's mod. and it was surprisingly doable, and a lot of those pages were really fun to use. I then continued to do catch-all bins to the point I think I had about 15 of them. Now, if you look at my channel, you know, now this was way earlier this year. Probably March, April, May. Potentially all 3 of those months or so. I spent a lot of time. That is also probably why I didn't get as much done as I wanted to for my video game backlog. I mentioned this in MG in my game experience 2025. I played a lot of Ellen this year, and yeah, I learned about Ellen and played a lot of it. Got too addicted to it, and yeah, well, earlier this year I got really into this. Now, a lot of it was because I loved it genuinely, and I wanted to cover this. This is very unfortunate. Well, this I'll have to get to that in a minute. But there was another reason why I did this. This is where I remind that I'm not going to go into too many details, but I went through a lot of bad personal stuff earlier this year. It lasted, without saying details, going into too much about what it was, it lasted for months, and it basically ended up occupying a lot of my thoughts and put me in a really bad place. Even now, not for the exact same reason, but even now, lately, I've been in quite a funk and depression. I'm trying to get in the right mindset again. But it was really bad early in the year, and I wanted some form of escapism. And Runamod Rabbit Hole happened to be a really good shoving my face against the grindstone, doing that, so to speak. Focusing all my free time on that happened to be a really good way to not think about the shit I didn't want to think about at the time. Which is why I got so much of it done. In a part of why I got so much of it done. Now, all of these videos are currently uploaded to my channel. Most of them are private. I am publishing them gradually. Here we get to possibly the final part regarding my channel. I started using Sony Vegas Pro. No, it's just called Vegas Pro now, I think. Whatever. I started using Vegas Pro. It had some neat options. Seemed to do what I wanted. But I would notice ever so slight degradation in quality with Stalker and Chill. I would start to notice this particularly a little bit in Runamod Rabbit Hole with Library of Ruina. But it wasn't until I started actually doing these vlogs, the private ones, as a test for this, that I realized something wasn't right. The video would come out really blurry. For recording anything in Nyasna in particular, the video would come out really blurry. The video would be dog shit quality, and I played around with the settings. I'm not really an expert on audio and video editing. I played around with the settings. I tried my best, and the best I could do was I could salvage most of the quality. Most, but not all. With some blurriness and some shit texturing still in there. And the video would not be nearly what I wanted it to be in file size for what is majority of the time me standing still looking at a mostly still world. It's variable. I've had some of these come out not even being much more than 100 megabytes. Then I had one that was 9 gigabytes because I was in a bar that had a bunch of animated screens on walls for Technicolor ambience and shit. So it's variable. That, for example, that smoke behind the building there is probably going to bump up the size of the recording a bit. But usually it's not that bad. I actually ended up with in some cases, larger file size than I went in with. And even still taking a hit to quality. I tried to look into what settings I could mess around with to fix this. Nothing seemed to work. And I finally saw a random post where a guy was basically saying, screw this shit, I'm going back to a Vitamux. And I did realize, or remember I should say, a Vitamux is what I used. When I did Neverwinter Nights, when I did System Shock 2, I did all that shit on a pirated version of Fraps and a Vitamux, which was and still is a freeware software, free software for simply rendering videos and stitching videos together, and that's what I did. I installed a Vitamux, I tried it out, I tried rendering the video, I tried stitching the video together. In some cases, I didn't even want to render it to make it smaller. The videos themselves were already small enough. I just wanted to stitch them together. That worked out just fine. The quality didn't take any hits. It looked exactly like it did here, as far as I was aware, with the resulting recording. Oh no, no, it wasn't just this. It was a video that should be up tonight as well, along with this, is My Ideal Game Part 1. I did that entire thing in Ellen, while just doing random shit in Ellen, talking about stuff. And in a lot of the resulting renderings I did in Vegas Pro, no matter what settings I messed around with, just moving in that game made the entire screen go fuzzy. I had way more so than even with Nyasna. I had way more issues with Ellen. I was confused. So after stitching the videos together just raw in Nyasna without doing the rendering process, because the videos were already small enough in file size, I tried this. I tried to actually proper render that video, the My Ideal Game Part 1 video, in a Vitamux. And from what I could tell, it came out looking just perfectly fine. So I might actually ditch Vegas Pro for the most part and just stick with a Vitamux. I also am going to admit, unfortunately, any slight blurriness or graphical issues with the Runamod Rabbit Hole videos might end up being there to stay as a result, because I already rendered all the videos, I already permanently deleted a fair amount of the raw footage, and I'm planning to delete even more for space in the offline collection soon. So, unfortunately, what you see is what you get. The quality won't be amazing, it won't be pure dog shit. I looked at a few of them, and they don't... I looked at a few of them recently, just to double check, and it seems to be okay enough. That about covers that. The collection. I'm not going to go into too many details. I had an idea when I was doing the vlogs that, and most of which ended up private as a test, that largely pretty much ended up private, to explain the collection, but in simple terms, it is a series of several external hard drives that I keep a lot of the shit I like on. Stuff I feel like preserving. Video games I like, anime. Now, there are two Now, I wasn't sure where to go with this. But there are two particular things I want to cover. This part is mostly an update for future me, if I ever think to go back looking at these again. The main two changes I have made to the collection this year, and the main strides of progress adding content to it, have been for set for part 3D and 2A. Part 2A PC games. I've always been a GOG guy, just as much as I'm a Steam guy. But only recently did I realize how useful it is to just keep backup of games from GOG. Never really thought to do it, for all my posturing as a data hoarder, as a lifelong data hoarder. I never thought to do that. I don't know why. Let my mind. So I've been doing that. I even started keeping a list of what I grabbed from GOG. On any given day, I grab games from there, and I'm basically working on a proper collection of GOG installers for games, rather than installers from any weird source. Not that I don't know the sites to use or how to confirm if something has a virus or not, but I trust official GOG installers more. And at least that way I know it's purely official. Plus, it is literally the most user-friendly, it is quite literally the most user-friendly thing you could have on hand. As for alt media, that is short for alternative media, which originally started as YouTube and web series. Now, there's a few things off of YouTube that are in this collection, but I mainly decided on alternative media because it sounded better to roll off the tongue than YouTube and web series. It's basically it's not any of the other parts. It's not anime. It's not live action movies or TV shows. It's not non-Japanese animation, aka cartoons. It's content made by content creators. I've been grabbing a lot. I actually don't put a lot of stuff on YouTube regularly. I will if I feel like it from time to time. If it's just something I'm going to do while I'm idle, playing something like Ellen. Or, in that case, I could also use an audiobook instead. But there's a lot of content creators that do audiobook type stuff as well. Point is, I don't actually watch stuff directly on YouTube that often, unless it's on my phone. Then I use a browser that blocks, that so far has blocked YouTube ads without fail. I despise YouTube ads. I understand how useful YouTube can be. I utterly despise YouTube ads, though. And some may remember YouTube even tried a thing where they put a detector in, this thing then that would detect if you're using an ad blocker. And if you were using an ad blocker, there was a good chance you would get a notification basically telling you we don't allow ad blockers on YouTube and that you can watch up to 3 videos before playback is forcibly stopped for you, rendering you unable to watch any more videos until and unless you turn your ad blocker off. I already downloaded video. By this point, I already downloaded videos pretty often from YouTube, largely for the sake of the collection. Content creators I really, really like. Civi11, Icarus Lives. I haven't actually gotten to him yet. But Civi11, Icarus Lives, Ahoy, Mandalore Gaming, Seth Zintok. Or if we want to talk about creepy stuff, there's Nightmind, Shrouded Hand, Nexpo, Lazy Masquerade. But it was almost always just for the collection. I would still actually load the video up on YouTube. When they started pulling that shit, I had a hardline stance. I made my own hardline stance. Well, if ad blockers aren't allowed on YouTube, YouTube's not allowed on my computer. I'm just going to download the video, since I was going to do that anyway, and watch it offline. And ever since, even after they stopped seemingly doing that, at least as far as I can tell, if you use an ad blocker, it was weird because I think they stopped for a bit and then tried to start again and then stopped again, and I don't think they tried since. I don't, either I'm right or I'm wrong, and my ad blocker is just that good at preventing working around whatever they're doing. Either way, I don't care. I've since maintained that hardline stance. Unless I really feel like it, I don't actually watch the videos on YouTube. I download them and watch them offline. And I've been making a lot of strides in that. A lot of content creators that I like, I've been grabbing up their stuff. I'm not gonna name exactly who, not to keep it a secret, because I don't really remember all of them. I know I was recently introduced to Farrell McGuire. I know there's Nightmine. There's a few others, and of course there's Keeping Up With It. It's gotten to the point where I actually keep a text document that I call the Alt Media Checklist. I check it once a day, if not every other day, and all I do is I go down the list and check any channels on the list to see if they have uploaded anything since I last grabbed stuff from there. Download the video, and then I have also a separate date for archive updated as of this date. I actually maintain an archive.org account where I re-upload a lot of these content creators stuff as a backup in case I ever feel like it. Honestly, if I had my way, I would be using it for a lot more than that, but I respect the legal rights of I'm not going to fucking upload GOG installers on archive.org. I'm not going to upload tons of pirated content to archive.org. But as far as I'm concerned, content off of YouTube is completely okay. In fact, these are my own archives intended for myself, but they are public for anyone to grab from. But in the process of this, I started to realize and became aware of some of these content creators already make their own backups. They quite literally have their own archive.org where they back up their own content. So what I'm doing in some cases might seem unnecessary, but it's for my own personal archive. That said, I think that's about it. Moving forward, I'm still going to be heavy focusing on those two things. GOG installers off of GOG and more alt media stuff. As far as the collection goes. As far as my channel goes, I'm going to finish publishing the Runamod Rabbit Hole videos, get back into groove with Stalker and Chill, and I want to get back into covering weird and interesting games. And anything I particularly fancy, really. That's been the roundup for this month and the roundup for the year, basically. So, one last smoke for the new year, and I will see you guys at the end of next month, if not sooner, if I get back to uploading stuff, to fresh recordings and uploading stuff.